Welcome to Queer Next, the podcast that puts the yeehaw in y'all means all. I'm your host, Beck.
And I am your host, Dash. Welcome to today's episode.
What I thought was a funeral procession turned out to be the high school's homecoming because it was so quiet.
How close do you live to the school?
I'm across the street from it. Although maybe the game doesn't, I don't know. It was really weird. And then they turned and came straight down my street. And that's how I saw that it was a parade. It wasn't a parade. It was,
A gathering.
yeah, a polite gathering that all drove down one street together. There was the ambulance and fire trucks had their sirens going, and it was just the one convertible with the, I guess, homecoming king and queen sitting in it. And that very clear signifier is the only reason I put together what it was.
Gotcha.
The most solemn affair. And then, but since I was home, I went outside on the porch and I was going to, stand and clap and cheer and stuff as they assumed there was more to come by. And I don't think that that's what I was supposed to do, because even the people driving by and like the fire trucks and stuff, they just kind of looked at me really funny, like kind of cross-eyed. And I was like, I'm doing something wrong and I don't know what it is. What's my motivation in this scene?
That's funny. I used to live right near a high school too, and their marching band drove me crazy. They would practice at 7:30 in the morning. I love a good marching band. I really do. Like, I have been to band competitions for fun. I was in the marching band. I was in the flag corps. They can kiss my ass at 7:30 in the morning is all I have to say about that.
Like, what masochist came up with that?
Right? In a residential neighborhood. And it would have been different if they faced my house. So all of their little horns.
Picturing them just like lining up down the sidewalk with their tubas and whatnots aimed directly at your window.
That's what it felt like, because they were like half a block away.
Fuck you in particular.
For real. You could hear them in the living room when they would practice. I mean, we were that close.
I hear everything that happens in this town, so I'm glad it's a ghost town, because
right,
it's not like there's topography or trees or anything to bust up the sound. If a thing occurs, everyone in town knows about it. I don't know who it is, but there is sounds like a young person, like a young adult, not a child, not a retiree, not even somebody my age. Like it sounded like some frat boy shit. Somebody was out woohooing at like midnight, 1 a.m, and I was like, "Who let you out?" I did not know we had your kind here in this quaint little township.
Crazy what beer and cheese curds will do to you.
Have you had cheese curds?
I have.
Oh, they're lit.
I like when they're fried. I mean, I don't know if there's any other way to have them, but they're delicious.
I assumed they were all fried, but then you saying that makes me realize I don't really know what makes a cheese curd. Is the curd the cheese? Is that redundant?
I don't know. I just know they're delicious.
They got those at my gas station.
Yeah, there's little cheesy nuggets.
I socialized this week.
Wow.
I know.
So your lesson on making friends last week helped.
Yeah. Me and like these how to be a functioning member of society classes that I take every day, just like taking notes, literally. I got no shame. I'm like, teach me, daddy. I'm missing something. Somewhere along the way, something never computed for me. But yeah, it was a work party.
Nice. How was that?
It wasn't bad. I mean, I was wildly anxious. And when I say party, I mean, just revisit the story I just told about the homecoming parade. This was 10 dead sober people sitting around in an empty bar with some good music playing. We have a coworker who has a great collection of vinyl, and their way of socializing is to be in the DJ booth, and it's always a great vibe. And people were really nice. When you're out for something that you kind of feel bad about, like not being able to fix, already, I think your brain can lie to you a little bit about what other people are thinking about you. Like they're like, you're a slacker. You're not holding up your end of the, work or whatever. And I knew that they didn't actually think that, but, going there gave me some direct proof that they just like me and they hope that I'm getting help and stuff. But it was a lot of work. It's just the way my anxiety works now. Like my ticks and like my rituals and things have really gotten out of control. And I was just like, I can't sit still while we're doing this. And nobody was standing up mingling. So you can't do the whole like hillbilly lean or whatever I think that's how we deal with social anxiety, is the various forms of like leaning and crouching we do.
I was at the post office earlier and I was leaning up against the table. Now that you mentioned that.
We crouch down. Have you ever seen people do that? They'll be talking, especially farmers or something. They'll be standing next to each other in the middle of nothing, and something serious needs to be talked about. And they'll crouch down to rest and talk.
As somebody that was a softball catcher for a long time, I know that position is not comfortable. I don't know why you would do such a thing.
They have a way of doing it that,
yeah,
I guess it takes their weight off of their back or something. I don't know. I just remember the old men doing it.
That's interesting. How was your week otherwise?
I mean, good. I am doing my little homework assignments that they give me in Grippy Sock School. What about you?
It's one of those weeks that you'll forget in a few days. Slogging through, class and class and class and class and grading and email. Oh my God, the email. They send me so much email. I even tell them the first day of class, don't send me email unless it's like really important. And then they're just like, when is the midterm? And I'm like, check the fucking syllabus. I have 137 students this semester. And if every one of them email me, like that's too much. I don't get paid enough to deal with all that email.
Can you tell them like, here's a list of topics I will answer an email about?
No, I give them the major policies and things that I get a lot of emails about right up front. Class, I give like times a week. I tell them that way I don't have to decide which reason is important. So I give them 5 free absences. One person's stubbing their toe, and I say I don't take doctor's notes. Didn't have gas money to come to class. Like, I don't know. It's up to you. Use your 5 however you need to use them. You don't have to email me. I don't need your. They will email me and tell me about the drama in the bathroom and like all of their business. And I love them, but I don't care.
Wow.
I don't.
So they're oversharing via email.
Oh yeah, big time. And so I tell them not to email me, and they email me anyway. And then, yes, I will take your late paper at 10% off every day that it's late, right? Just get it in. You don't have to ask, can I turn something in late? Just do it, right? Like I give them policies up front like that, and I still get a million. The ones that are on the syllabus drive me crazy. Like, when is the midterm? That is posted in like 8 different places. And I gave you a copy of freaking syllabus the first week of class. You know what I mean? And plus it's on Canvas. Like you could just click on a few buttons and you can literally download the whole thing. It's right there.
Yeah.
One of them emailed me the other day. He said, first he emailed me and said he had a fever and he didn't know if he should come to class. And I was like, well, that's up to you. And then he emailed me yesterday and he was like, well, I still have a bit of a cough, but not a fever. Should I come? I'm not your mother. Like, decide that on your own, honey. That's not my job. It's just, I have a lot of things that I'm responsible for, but telling you whether your cough is too serious to come to class is not one of them.
Interesting. I don't think you could you can't take that liability anyway, right? You're not a safety officer. You're not a health and safety person.
It's wild what they tell me.
This is me like projecting, but maybe they're more likely to communicate with professors that they feel care about them.
Right.
Because I bet there's plenty of professors that they're not wanting to email all the time.
Right. I just wish they would realize I've answered most of their questions already. It's just there's so much of it. Like 1 or 2 a week would be fine, but I get like 6 emails a day. You know what I mean? Of random students needing something stupid. And it's like that's 20 minutes to a half an hour of my day of just answering stupid emails. If I got all that time back, it would be great.
I was teaching. So we sound super get off my lawn, and that's fine. I don't care.
Sometimes you have to be.
But even though that is very clearly what is happening here, let's be clear that it is no one's fault that this is the communication strategy they were given.
Right.
It is not a 17-year-old's fault that this is the way that they have been conditioned to communicate, and the way that they have been taught to be a student or even an independent person, the level of independence that they have. It's not their fault they showed up to college like this. And I remember I was teaching writing when the smartphone thing happened. Remember that moment in time in 2009 when all of a sudden everybody had a smartphone?
They had a big screen.
that had internet
Yeah.
capability. Like they could put
Yeah.
their email on.
Yeah.
Because the iPhone 3, I think it was the first one. That was 2008 when it was widely available to everyone. And then just a year, 18 months later, every single student had one. And I remember noticing then how communication changed from one school year to the next. The next year, it was an entirely different framework, set of expectations for how students communicated. And I was just like, what have we done? There was one time, so I taught 2 classes. It was like English 101, right? Just freshmen. And I taught them back to back. So one was at like 9:05 and the next one was at 10:15. And there was a young woman in the second class, in the 10:15 one. She came to class every single day. She never said a word. She never had the textbook with her. She brought her phone, and remember, like the Cheeto girl on TikTok. It's just kind of a meme, an archetype of a certain kind of cis straight white girl who carried 20 keychain on one of those like Vera Bradley.
Right.
What are those called? The pocketbook things with the window for your license and stuff. And they would have
clutch.
Yeah, clutch. Yeah. They would have that, their Red Bull, and their cell phone. And that was their world. That's all they needed to conquer the day. So that was how she rolled into class every day. She would sit down her jangly ass janitor keys and she would look at me. She never broke eye contact, actually. While I was lecturing, there was nothing I could falter on except for just this weird feeling I had that she was not there while I was lecturing. She wasn't participating. She was simply waiting her turn to get up and go to the next thing. And I was like, I foresee some issues with when it's time to start turning in papers. Because in writing class, in English 101, that's it, bitch. That's your grades.
Yeah, I just taught that. So, yeah.
But the thing that really cinched it was one day I was in my 905 class. And I did not have a smartphone because I was a fucking adjunct professor. I couldn't afford one. I had my little flip phone. So I didn't know all of this had unfolded until I got back to my office and checked my email. So I taught my first class and then I went into the second class and she wasn't there and she never missed class. And so we went on, whatever, taught class. And then I got back to my office and checked my email and I've got like just a barrage of emails from her. They're written in text message format. And the first one just said, "Are we having class today?" And of course I didn't answer it because I was teaching at the time she sent it. It was during the first class that she sent this. And then the next one, "Can you reply, please?" And then the next one, "I'm in class. Where's class happening?" And I was like, what is going on? Is she okay? They just kept going that way. Like, "I need you to reply. I don't know where I'm supposed to be," and stuff. She's clearly crashing out. And the last one was like, "Well, since you can't be bothered to reply to my email, I guess I'm going to just leave class, but you can't say I wasn't here because I was in the room." And I was like, "We're in the room at 9:20 a.m. Class starts at 10:15 a.m. And I replied and I was like, "I was teaching when you were sending these because I have a class before our class. Are you okay? Do you need to meet and talk? What's going on?" And she said, "Oh yeah, my first class got out early. And so I always go to your class after my first class." I think she thought I just live in that room and I spawn there like a fucking leprechaun. Just waiting to start class when she gets in there. First of all, on your cell phone, you could have looked at the syllabus where it says what time it is. Like none of those things occurred to her, but sending me 20 emails, freaking out about why I'm not in class with her at that time. She wasn't the only example of this. She was just the most consistent. And so throughout the rest of that year, I was like, something's different about this year. That was 2010. And now they're just all like that. Not all, but now that's so common that we can't even get support on how to handle it, on how to get ahead of it, on how to negate it. It is simply, that's what students are like now.
Yeah. Or they'll send you an email at like 8:30 at night and you see them in class at noon the next day and they're like, "Why did you respond to my email?" Because I'm not attached to my email 24/7. I'm just not.
And if I was, I would ignore you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. It's just wild, the expectations that they have sometimes. I love them to death. Don't get me wrong. I love teaching. It's just some of the little irritants that come with it. Every job has its irritants, I guess.
Every job does have its irritants. And I mean, working with people who are at an entirely different stage of their life as you is challenging. But when you are responsible for those people in some sort of halfway removed pseudo mentor position / slightly parental sometimes, it just gets too weird to try to figure out. Because on the one hand, it's like, I want you to understand that this is a boundary. But on the other hand, I don't feel like trying to teach you about boundaries. Like, I feel like that one's beyond me.
Right. I also had, when I taught the English class down at Shawnee State, I had a kid. He showed up for every class, every one of them. He participated. He was like the comedian of the class, really. He was like kind of outgoing. He showed up and he talked about everything. He didn't turn in a single paper all semester.
Yeah, I have those too.
Showed up for every class. No paper. Not one paper.
Did you ask him about it?
Oh, yeah. He'd be like, oh, I will get that one in. Don't worry about it. And I'd be like, okay. But there's only so many times you can ask him. You know what I mean? It's like not my job to hold his hand through the whole thing. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it.
You know, I think that is a healthier approach than if let's take the second route there and say, like, I'm not going to do it. The willingness to still show up to class, look the professor and your peers in the eye, knowing that you haven't done your work. I mean, that is preferable. My response, if I knew I hadn't done the work and knew I wasn't going to do the work, I would simply stop going to class. Not just that class. I'll quit just in case. And this is how OCD works. Not just that class. I'd have to quit going to all classes because professors might know each other and they might go like, well, he was in my class. Why was he in your class? In my mind, I was that big of a problem for everybody.
Right.
So if I had simply been able to show up to class and give the professor an opportunity to go, you fucked up, but you can have another shot, things could have been easier for me.
Right. I remember the first time that I was an undergrad, I just barely went to class, right? And I remember on 2 separate occasions, I tried going back to class after missing a few, and I was basically laughed out of the room in both cases. And it was like, yeah. One was an English professor, and the other was a math. The math, I kind of understand because you move so quickly through that kind of stuff. But I remember the English professor's name. I've looked her up before and like Hexter.
I think the most extreme example of like a clash with a professor I had, he was an English professor, and I think he thought that I was arrogant. I had to glean this from him. So I had done that thing, right, where I had skipped the maximum amount of classes and then maybe a couple more. And he let me back into class. Maybe he felt like he shouldn't have done that or something or whatever. So it comes time for finals day. And this was just a survey course. So it was one of those like all of literature from the dawn of time to the 1600s. So the final was an in-class essay on various prompts about literature. And this was my first year. And I didn't know that finals were at a different time than regular class. And so this was a 125 class normally. So I was just going to go to class at 125. I was sitting up in the dining hall and my friends were like, don't you have a final right now? And I was like, well, it's like not till 125. And they said, no, they're on the hour. So it started at 1:00. And I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. So I threw my food away and sprinted. It was just across the quad, luckily. And I got in there like 20 minutes late. Like egregiously late to a final.
Oh, wow.
You have 2 hours to do them because they're essays. So I ran in and I was like, I'm so sorry. And then he gave me my test and I sat down, wrote my essays, got up and handed it to him and left. And he followed me out. And thinking back, I realized like I only spent about 30 minutes on it and I was the first one to hand it in and I had been 20 minutes late coming to class and he was offended by that. Probably on top of a long list of other things that he'd been stewing over that I had done. And I didn't really think about it. And he had no way of knowing that is simply how fast I write those kinds of essays. But he followed me out into the hallway and screamed at me and said that I was ungrateful and was destined to fail and just a bunch of really, really personal, mean shit. And I was like, my God, what? I feel like that kind of like made me not want to go back to classes after I had fucked up even more.
Yeah, for sure.
And he said he was going to fail me, but he couldn't because I had got an A on the final.
I've got some students that are pretty loyal about doing the reading. One of the things I do is I hide Easter eggs in the reading. And if they find them, they email me the code word or whatever, and I give them extra credit points. And then that way I know really who's doing the work through the semester and who isn't. If you find one, that means you are looking at the readings. You know what I mean? And if you don't find them and never know about it, then you didn't crack open the readings like once.
I do that in my syllabus, but I've never done it for readings before. That's pretty smart.
Yeah.
Very rarely do they find it, though, in the syllabus because I don't tell them it's in there.
I get 1 or 2 semester that find it. Yeah, I put it in the academic honesty policy.
Oh, that's a good spot.
Yeah.
Well, let's give this wheel of what have you a spin. There's only 4 little options on here. You need to start filling it back up again. Okay, we landed on tall tales.
Tall tales.
Are tall tales part of the culture where you're from? Like, Just now, basically, that's what I was doing, like telling a tale in a long, exaggerated, and dramatic way.
Oh, yeah, especially the men. My grandpa could wind a story like nobody else, my papaw. One of my favorite stories he ever told me, I think I talked about it on the first episode. He, was 12. He was born in, like, 21, 22, somewhere in that area. So, in the '30s, there was prohibition, right? So, they had stills up on the hill, and they sent him running because the law was coming, the revenuers were coming. And he ended up getting caught, right? He was running down the road and they ended up catching him. And he was shaking real hard and they put him in handcuffs and they're like, "Boy, what are you shaking for?" And he was like, "I'm cold." He was like, "Boy, it's the middle of July."
My Peppo parrot, he liked telling jokes that way. This one always sticks in my mind, and every time it's summertime, I think about it. The mosquitoes were real bad one summer, and we were sitting on the front porch. He was telling us, like, I was trying to go to sleep last night, and the mosquitoes was buzzing around. He would mimic the sound. He would say, like, they'd go by my head going, and then he said, then I heard two of them talking, and they were arguing. I heard one of them say, "Well, should we eat him here, or should we take him back to the nest with us?" And the other one said, "Well, if we carry him back to the nest, those big mosquitoes might take him away from us." And I was like, how big are the other mosquitoes? So I was born at a hospital that was haunted, that became haunted.
Very cool.
Yeah. That might not be true, but I believe David was one of the last to be born there before it was shut down. Yeah, in 82. So in Corbin, Kentucky, there was a hospital, and we just called it the old Corbin Hospital. And it was only functional for like 30 years. They built this whole thing for like $600,000 in the 50s, and it shut down in 82.
Wow.
So in high school, we would tell stories about like how haunted it was and the slayings and things that happened there or whatever. But the thing that I think made it such a myth for us was that it was never torn down. It stood until 2005. Yeah, it stood until the early 2000s. So it had been shut down for 20 years and just kind of rotting there. And so people would go up there. There was graffiti all over it. The morgue was underwater. It had obviously been broken into. There were no lights up there because it was halfway up a mountainside. And we would go up there and like dare each other to climb down into the morgue and get into the water and stuff. I mean, people, if you stubbed your toe or something, you'd get sepsis.
Right.
But that was we would do stuff like that all the time, like go to the haunted places and then dare each other to go inside or something. And so my mystique was always that I was born there because none of the other kids had been.
That's really cool.
We went up there one night and I was like, I think people are living here. I was like, these people just want to be left alone. We should go.
There was a place, there was a big water reservoir in Portsmouth. Actually, the baseball fields were up on top of it where I played t-ball and little league and stuff like that. And at the base of it, there was this really old looking house. And the story was that it had been a monastery and that they had shut it down. Turns out years later, I found out it was just a pump for the reservoir. They built a house around it just for aesthetics. And like everybody talked about how it was this monastery for years and years. That was what everybody said.
Were there any haunted graveyards?
There's one really creepy one with a World War I graveyard in the middle of it. Like there's a special, like the statue up for it and that kind of thing. It's really eerie to walk through it. I used to live like a block away from it, but I was always kind of chicken shit to go into those after dark.
I did most of my exploring of places like that in Williamsburg because in Jellicoe we were always on the mountainside or in the trailer park, and so it wasn't very easy to get anywhere.
Right.
So it wasn't until high school where I could drive, and I had some friends who knew about, because I like being somebody who was from outside the area. I didn't know all this local lore, and so they're the ones who my friends Ben and Carrie in particular. We would go out. We would try to see Mulberry Black, and it's so interesting the way those things look in your memory. In my mind, I can perfectly picture this monster.
I've not heard of that one.
It's a Williamsburg thing. It's just it's kind of like Padfoot in Scotland and the UK. And so I'm sure this just comes from that, of a large black dog. It's like a omen. It's a bad omen, or it's a harbinger. or it could mean that the border between the living and the dead is thin. So this was a huge black mountain lion, like the size of a small car, with the face of a person. I don't remember how it worked. There was some sort of ritual you did or thing you said or something like that. And if you stopped your car on the bridge and said the right words or something, then Mulberry Black would come and walk around your car. So you had to sit there with your lights off and roll your windows down, and it's the middle of the woods. It's some of the most fun, like heart-pounding terror you could experience. We did that shit every weekend. As soon as it started to get cool outside, like that was a favorite of ours to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I know for a fact I never actually saw it. But in my mind's eye, I know exactly what it looks like. I can see its face. I can see this kind of weird half human, half cat face. I think that's the like only cryptid hunting I've actually done.
Yeah, my only connection to the paranormal are those ghost horses. And you'll never convince me I didn't see what I saw. So.
The mountain could be real creepy sometimes. And talking of like tall tales, sometimes the things that we would do, the stories you have to tell after being somebody who grows up that way, just out like even if you only do it once or twice in your childhood, you can get 20 stories out of just being out late at night in the woods somewhere. I think I might have mentioned this once before. Mom and dad, they worked crazy hours a lot of times, and so I was in charge a lot. And for a long time there, Vanessa was always a good kid, but even David was a good kid for a while there. And so mostly we just had fun, but I would have some real dumb ideas sometimes. And one night, I don't know whose idea it was, but I decided that it was okay to do, even if it wasn't my idea, go up to the top of the mountain we lived on. So we lived on one side of Jellicoe Mountain, which is part of the Smokies. And at the top of it is a big, long rock face. And we decided that it would be really, really beautiful to watch the sunset up there. It's about an hour and a half hike up there, maybe even further. For kids, even probably further. And you can spot the flaw in this logic from space, right?
Right. How you going to get back?
Well, it was not easy. And we were up there, and it was like we were the dumb characters in a movie where we just were realizing our mistake in real time. It didn't once occur to us on the way up. And we're up there on top of this rock face, which is really difficult to climb up even with daylight. And we're sitting up there. We could see forever. We could see the Cumberland Gap from the top of this mountainside.
Wow.
It was an incredible view. And we were correct that it was amazing to see it at sunset. And then we started to realize that we were absolutely fucked. Sitting on top of this, the rock face itself was about 50 feet.
Wow.
And those rocks there'll be trees and stuff growing out of them. So there were roots and stuff for us to climb onto, but it was still a sheer rock face. And so we climbed down it. There was still a little bit of daylight left. But by the time we got down it, it was all gone. And that is maybe, I don't know about the most scared, but that's just a particular kind of scared. When you know that you are hours away from anyone who can help you in woods that are so dark. I'm trying to think now, like it might be kind of a rare experience to be in a place where you can put your hand in front of your face and not be able to actually see it. Because there's light everywhere now. We always have access to light. And that is such a powerless feeling. And I could just hear David. Couldn't see him, but I could hear him falling and screaming and crying. And I was just like, I've murdered us. There's no way we're not going to survive this, which is not true, right? If we had just stayed put, and listeners, by the way, if this ever happens to you, stay put. Don't do what we did. Somebody will come and find you. But we just decided to try to run down the mountainside. I don't know why we didn't break every bone in our body, because we were just fucking ass over tea kettle rolling down this mountainside. And we fell into the mine, the quarry. There was a gravel quarry next to the mine there.
Wow.
I was in so much fucking trouble when I got back.
Oh, I can imagine.
But they were so scared, though, that I don't remember if I was grounded, and I deserved it if I was, but it was one of those times where like they were too scared to be angry, you know?
Right.
I cannot imagine what a parent feels in a situation like that.
Yeah. It would be so scary to be a parent. Like sometimes I think about one time I was talking to my mom and I was going somewhere for her, and I was going down a stretch of highway where the speed limit was 70. So I was doing 75, and she was like, "Don't be late." And I was like, "Mom, I'm going 75 miles an hour." And she was like, "Don't tell me that." You know? And I think about that. It's something so random, and I think about it all the time when I'm going 80 down the highway.
If you have ever experienced that kind of claustrophobic total darkness feeling, it's very easy to just close my eyes and put myself back there. And I knew I was hearing creatures of the night. I knew there was, because there were mountain lions and stuff up there. So I was like, they're out here hunting. I know they are.
We would have to walk from Mammal's house to my house. So it was just out the driveway, but it was a good, I don't know, 10th of a mile, just a gravel driveway. And I'd often forget my flashlight or whatever it was because I'd have to walk dinner out to Mammal or whatever it was, or we'd be coming back from Christmas. And the only light there was, and sometimes there would be some moonlight, and you'd have to like watch where you're going very carefully because there were no street lights out there whatsoever. There's just no there's no light pollution where I lived. There's very little.
Yeah, there wasn't any. Like, there was even a street light at the end of down Pilot Drive where we lived, like a couple of street lights, and they just got sucked up into the darkness. It didn't even make a dent. When we moved up to Kentucky, there wasn't a driveway for the longest time, and the trailer sat real far back on this plot of land next, sort of next to the tree line, and we'd have to park the van or whatever we drove out by the road because it would get stuck in the yard. And it was not very far at all, like you say, but it was enough that a few steps in, you're like, who's behind me or what's behind me?
Right.
I was convinced all the time that something was watching me from the tree lines.
Well, so one time I was like 16 or 17 maybe, and I came home. I had forgot something, and so I had my best friend with me, right? So I pull up, and I'm bebopping. We just barrel down the driveway, got the music going, whatever, right? And I hop out of the car. What I don't know is that my dad was doing the walk down the driveway, right? And he came up over the little hill that was above the driveway, and I didn't see him. And so he waited. I ran to the house, and I came back out, and he was waiting on me. And I like came down the stairs, and he had a big beard, and he flipped on the flashlight under his chin, and he said, "What are you doing?" I literally jumped so fast. I went over and under my car.
Oh, man. Oh, I got a good story. This is when I was in the metro. So the road we lived on was right down the road from Cumberland Falls State Park. Listeners, give us a shout out if you have ever been to Cumberland Falls State Park. They call it the Niagara of the South. A lot of cool things about that park. But it was pitch black on it, never a light anywhere. And I was driving my little metro, probably too fast, around this curve that goes right up by the exit to go down into where the Cumberland Falls State Park is, which is actually a cut really deep into the Daniel Boone National Forest. There was another car coming. I could see the lights, and they were flashing their lights at me, warning. And I was like, oh, this could mean a lot of things. So I checked my brights, and I was like, okay, my brights aren't on. I didn't see anything, so I just kept on going. And then they're like flashing them faster and faster at me. And I was like, what is going on? And then I start to hear honk, honk. They're laying on the horn. And then I can hear screaming, and they're like, stop. And I just like freaked out. I was like, what is going on? And so I just stopped my little like gray Pebble Geo Metro in the middle of 25W. And then I hear clip, clop, the sound of hooves on the road. And through the open window, a horse tail brushes past my face. Like it hits me with its tail. And I had stopped like a foot away from a giant ass horse.
Oh, wow.
That I had been driving at probably 60 miles an hour. Couldn't see it because it was black. And it had escaped from the stables there. They have riding stables at the falls. You can take, horse little tours down there. And so it had got out, and that if that other car hadn't been there, I would not have seen it because my little Geo Metro was not lighting up that road.
Right.
I still have an intrusive thought of that other car wasn't there, and I just drove smack into this. I mean, what is a full-grown horse weigh?
Right. We almost ran into a cow one time on a back road. Came around a curve. There was a cow standing in the middle of the road.
How much does a horse weigh? 900 pounds?
Wow.
900 to 2,200 pounds.
Wow.
That would have killed me.
Yeah. Maybe you jumped timelines.
Maybe. That's what happened. Have you ever read a book called The Ghost-Eyed Tree?
No.
This was one of our favorite storybooks when we were kids, and it was a Halloween favorite. And Mom, she was really good at reading stories to us. We were fortunate that she was really literate, and would be really dramatic and do voices and things. So the horror stories she was particularly skilled at. And this book, I bought a copy of it, and I want to get a tattoo of it. But this was mine and David and Vanessa's, one of our favorite books ever. And it's about this, basically, this like phenomenon of walking alone at night in a rural area, and the way everything becomes sinister, the way the trees and the grass and the birds and stuff become like a horror show. And it conjures this feeling, and it's just some kids, like you were saying, carrying the pails of milk down. You have to do it. It's somebody's job to do it, and you have to do it, but it's the scariest damn thing.
Yeah, I didn't like being sent to dinner when it was dark out. Oh, I hated doing that because I had seen snakes in the driveway before, right? And when we moved back there to take care of the property last year or whatever, I was driving down the driveway one day and a snake came flying out of the side of the hill, and I refused to walk down that driveway again, like ever.
They like shoot out at you.
They did. They shot out right over the driveway. It was wild.
Snakes get up to shit, man.
Yeah, they do.
Have you ever had that feeling like where you accidentally touched something that you didn't know was there, like a snake or a spider or something?
Not touch. One time we were at the aquarium in Cincinnati, and we were like at the end of the tour, right? We'd been walking for a long time, and we come to the end of the thing, and there's this room. It's a big room, and there's big glass panels, like huge, like it's a big aquarium tank. And I'm kind of up. I get up to the glass because I don't see anything, and then I look over, and an octopus has its arm coming at me, and it goes, blah, blah, blah. And I literally jumped over a baby stroller to get out of there. I felt like I did the Scooby Doo move, like where my feet went.
Some things are so good at camouflage, and the times I most often touched stuff that I didn't know was there and wished I hadn't was around the pig pen, like slopping the pigs, because there was so much to eat down there. There was always stuff hanging around down there. And the first time I can really remember grabbing a wolf spider was slopping the pigs, and I wasn't paying attention. And if you've never slopped pigs,
I've not.
You put on muck boots that go up to your knees, because a pig pen, the floor of it is a combination of a bunch of shit and clay mud and old food. And so you sink into it 4 to 6 inches. So walking through a pig pen is really difficult. And when we were kids, we weren't heavy enough to really yank, because the muck boot, you got to like slurp it back up out of the pig shit. So we would use the fence posts and like grab a hold of the fence post and like drag ourselves forward. And I went to do that, and I put my hand on top of a fence post, and it moved. The whole top of the fence post felt like another hand under my hand. And I knew that was wrong, of course, and I took my hand off instantly. But I looked at the fence post, and I couldn't see anything different. I just saw fence posts. It was, whatever it was the top of it. And so I thought, okay, it's rotten or something, or there was leaves or something. I went to walk past it, and if you've ever seen a wolf spider do this, man, it is something. But this fence post became all legs on the top, and it raised its 2 front legs up. When a spider's threatened, it'll do this. It'll raise its front legs up at you, and like, in my memory, there is a sound of hissing. I seriously doubt that was really there. I kind of doubt this spider was cussing me out, but it definitely did the hand thing, and it was like you saying the Scooby Doo thing. I'm stuck in shin deep pig shit, and I can't run away from this thing, and it's just there waving its big ass like half of its spider arms at me. And I was like, I couldn't get away. I'm holding a bucket of rotten food, and I'm just screaming. And I felt like such a city kid. I love wolf spiders, though. They're so cool.
Hell no.
I don't want to touch them anymore.
My closest experience with a spider was the day or night before I graduated high school. I was asleep, and I got bit right here on my forehead by some kind of spider. And so I had a big scab right here when I graduated from high school. From a spider
wow, bite. You must have smushed it or something. Must have felt it on there.
Yeah.
Did you know wolf spiders can fly?
No.
It's not really flying.
My dad hated because spiders I can deal with unless they're big, but snakes I can't handle. And my dad Mark was the same way. One time we found one in the backyard, and I was like, "There's a snake!" And he came out with his gun and shot it 3 times, and it was like a garter snake.
I am not particularly scared of snakes, but they don't get in the house. So there, I think that's the difference there. Like spiders, everything makes sense to me outside, even if I don't feel like giving it a hug or a kiss. But snakes, I've never had to experience them coming in the house. I know, I'm sure someone out there has.
Oh yeah, my friend. I
Yeah.
have a friend that had one that was in the walls, and they would see it, they'd go to get it. Yeah.
Incorrect. Ugh, no, don't like that.
Yep.
Wolf spiders, they can't, it's not flying really, but they can parasail. So if it's real windy, they spin a web with their front legs or spinnerets or whatever and go like, and cast it like a parachute. And then the wind catches it and they just travel around that way. And I only found that out because one of them landed on me one time.
Oh God.
That is the most violence I have ever visited upon a single living creature. I don't like to kill things, especially, if there's, whatever, but man, I sure took that fucker out. Not
You had your
today.
shotgun out.
I did it with a broom.
I'm glad you're all right. I'm glad you survived.
I remember seeing it come at me because it landed around my forehead. And I was like, that was definitely coming at me. Like it was in control of this thing. That's like the last thing a person sees before a xenomorph comes out of their chest. So I Googled it and I was like, this is like one of those Google searches where you're like, I can't believe I have to type this. But I was like, can spiders fly? And the answer is no, not really. But they can glide around on little things that they spin.
Web parachutes.
Mm-hmm.
That is kind of a neat trick to have, though.
Yeah.
I'd blow myself all over campus if I had that option.
I used to have these dreams that I could do that.
Oh, flying dreams? So do I.
Yeah.
I love them. I love them.
Me too.
I swoop.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's like I'm a flea and I can just jump really high like Superman.
That's a new one. I haven't heard that one, but I can usually just fly around whatever area that I'm in. I just like Superman with my arms out. I had the weirdest dream last night. I dreamt that I was holding somebody's baby and I sat it down on a bed and it fell forward. And when it sat up, its whole nose was like gone. It was just a big triangle in the middle of its face.
Like Voldemort.
Yeah. How weird is that though? Like, why am I injuring babies in my sleep?
Yeah, like what's your brain trying to tell you?
Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe it was about you. Maybe your nose was smushed and you were trying to breathe in your sleep.
Have you ever heard the meatloaf story, the meatloaf dream?
No.
One time I dreamed, I was a non-smoker when this happened. I dreamed that I went to a Super America, a Speedway, the one in Portsmouth specifically. And I went up to the counter and I bought a pack of Marlboro Lights. And she was like $5.79 or whatever. And instead of money, I pulled out a hunk of meatloaf and broke off a piece. It slid it across the counter. And she like raked up all the crumbs of it and everything and gave me money back. And
whose meatloaf was it?
I don't know. I don't know. And why was it? How did I know how much it was worth? Like,
how did she? Who decided
right?
this exchange rate?
Like, what was my brain trying to say in that interaction right there? I don't know.
I don't remember my dreams that often. I think they're probably terrifying.
I'm on a medication to help me not remember them because I was having nightmares so much.
There's medicine for that.
There is.
That's cool because I'm sure that if you are somebody who has nightmares all the time, your life is probably hell.
Yeah.
You coming at me in my sleep? This is not cool.
I think I had just so much stress going on that my brain was just over it and didn't know what else to do but give me these nightmares. I don't really have them very often anymore that I remember anyway. So I had a recurring dream where I was packing everything and I had like 5 minutes left and I had to figure out what I wanted to take with me, what was important and what isn't. And it would either be my dorm room or my bedroom at my mom's house or whatever. But they were going to tear down the building or they were going to blow it up or whatever it is. And I had 5 minutes to decide what was important to take what I could carry. And I've had that dream 1,000 times if I've had it once.
I've had the packing dream. I have it with the cats. In my dream, I'm trying to leave and I've got to take the cats with me. But usually something happens where like the cats start to multiply Or I'll be like looking for Felix, and Felix is a black cat, and then suddenly there's 20 black cats there, and I'm like, which one of you is Felix? I'm like, what am I working on here? What's my unconscious working through here that has to do with packing?
I know. And I usually can't find my shoes in those dreams.
Mhm.
I'm always looking for my shoes.
Yeah, I'm usually working on some sort of go bag type thing. Like I need certain supplies. Like there's a list I'm working with. Or I also have this recurring dream of when we got David's stuff back from Iraq and trying to sort through all of his clothes. For some reason in the dream, I'm just like really, really struggling and upset with trying to put together this closet, like sort through this closet and be like, which of this is mine and which of this is his. That doesn't even sound like a nightmare, but it definitely feels like one.
Yeah.
'Cause it's housework. Well, I think that on Halloween, we should just go live on YouTube. And listeners, if you want to join us for a teleparty, a watch party thing, like this, it used to be called Netflix Party, but now it's just teleparty. It's free, and we can use it to watch Curse of the Queer Wolf together. And then me and Beck can go live on YouTube and just do a little bit of a pre-show, and then we can all watch the movie together.
That sounds great to me.
So I'm making Mad Lib for us, making like some redneck versions of some Halloween tropes. We could play some Halloween games, and then if you're with us on the live, then you can play too. You can play in the chat, and then we can just watch the movie together. So if you want to join us for that on Halloween, right now I've got it scheduled for 8 p.m. Eastern time. If you don't have anything to do for Halloween and this is going to be your event, you don't want to go out and hang out with people who drink, or you just want a quiet night, or if this is your pregame and you just want to hang out with us while we are nerdy, feel free to join us. And you can get that information. We're going to put it in the newsletter. I'm going to start circulating it on social media, put up some trailers and stuff of Queer Wolf. Oh, God, we're just sitting here talking. Maybe let's listen in on this week's sponsor. Let's see who we got here.
Let's do it.
All right. Interesting. Okay, this week's sponsor is the law offices of Heifer and Rind. They are here to issue the following public service announcement for cast iron skillet related injury or wrongdoing. Have you or someone you love been the victim of a cast iron related skillet incident? You are not alone. Every year, thousands of rural Americans are injured or wronged by skillets weighing more than a newborn calf. These cookware are both heirloom and blunt force generational trauma. They have been passed down through generations and sometimes used against them. At the law offices of Heifer and Rind, we understand the unique pain of skillet-related injury. Maybe you were smacked upside the head for talkback. Maybe you were cut out of grandma's will for washing it, even though you swear you only gave it a rinse. Maybe you tried to lift one fresh out of the oven and branded yourself with the handle hotter than Hades in August. Signs of cast iron trauma may include family members whispering, "Bless your heart," when you volunteer to bring the cornbread. Nightmares of being chased through the holler by a skillet the size of a hubcap. Online shopping for non-stick pans. Sudden preference for grilled chicken. But there is hope. Call 1-800-HOT-GREASE. Our team of lawyers is standing by, wearing protective oven mitts, ready to fight for you. We've won cases involving wrongful dishwashing, aggravated frying, and emotional damages from being told your cornbread was dry. Call today. Who even knows what the statute of limitations on aggravated cookery crime is? Let us do the cooking. Note, if you put that sucker in the dishwasher, neither heaven nor hell nor we can help you. Just make your peace and go live in a hut by yourself in the woods.
Funny that you should say that. I got randomly a settlement from Facebook. I got a payment via PayPal.
I got one of those.
For $38. How much was yours?
I think it was about that. And I don't know, because it wasn't exactly that same amount of money, and mine was a long time ago.
I just got it this week.
Yeah. So they must be doing it in stages. There's an AT&T one as well, data breach. They just stay fucking around with our stuff.
They really do.
And we have no choice.
Would you like to hear of the noun of Appalachian interest for the week?
Yes, I would love to hear of the noun of Appalachian interest.
All right. Today's noun isn't a pepperoni roll, a Geo Metro, or a pair of house shoes. It's a person, a voice, a mind, a revolutionary heart that came straight out of the hollers of Kentucky, the incomparable Bell Hooks.
Yeah! Yay, the crowd goes wild.
Dear Bell Hooks, we love and appreciate you. Not just because you were from Hopkinsville, Kentucky, not just because you carried the mountains and valleys of Appalachia in your cadence, but because you taught us how to love the world differently. You taught us that love isn't soft and saccharine, it's a radical act. You taught us that to resist oppression is to love ourselves enough to demand better. Born Gloria Jean Watkins, you chose the name Bell Hooks to honor your grandmother and to keep the focus on the substance of your words rather than on your own identity. You were the daughter of working-class Appalachian family, and you never forgot where you came from. You pulled the coal dust and the bluegrass right into your theory. You showed us that Appalachia isn't just banjos and front porches. It's also Black women writing fierce truths. It's girls with notebooks who refuse silence. It's a place where love can be a hammer and a quilt all at the same time. You gave us the language of intersectionality before it had a name, and you gave us a voice as familiar as your aunt's front porch. You showed us that feminism must be for everybody. You made the Academy listen to the cadence of your Kentucky voice, lowercase letters and all, and you made sure that those words were not just read but felt. Bell Hooks, your words are in every coal town where a girl picks up a pen. You're in every small classroom where someone dares to say, "What about race? What about gender? What about love?" You left us a library of courage and tenderness, and we are forever trying to read it out loud with the same clarity you gave us. So today, we tip our hats and our mason jars to you, Bell Hooks, the noun of Appalachian interest who taught us that Appalachia is not only a place, but a way of imagining freedom. Love always, Beck and Dash.
Perfect. Yes.
That's the Queer Next love letter.
Queen of our hearts, Bell Hooks. For a brief amount of time, I lived not far from her. I will always brag about that. Like, that's my brush with greatness. I was Bell Hooks' neighbor for a couple of years.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It wasn't long before she passed away, but it was her birthday recently, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah. I think I saw something about that on like NPR or something.
Recently, I've been on a tear recommending, oh shit, is it The Will to Change? The name of that book she wrote about masculinity.
Oh, I don't know that one.
I think it's one of her lesser known, because she's made such a big impact in feminist theory, feminist scholarship.
That's what I know most of hers.
Well, she also wrote about masculinity. And so The Will to Change it's got a subtitle here. Let me see. Men, Masculinity, and Love. It makes the case that men and masculinity, all forms of it, are oppressed or strangled or just impacted in negative ways under patriarchy, under hegemonic masculinity. So first she's laying that all out for us and does a really great and accessible analytic of how hegemonic masculinity in particular and that component of patriarchy impacts men. And then she goes through this incredible systematic deconstruction framework because it's called The Will to Change. And so like she's literally talking about men, it doesn't have to be like this. I think it's cool that she's applying like a feminist framework to a study of masculinity because so much of masculinity studies is men, and that's not weird.
Right.
But the fact that Bell Hooks said, "All right, baby, let me help."
I think that's probably something I could use for my dissertation because I want to talk a lot about men. You know what I mean? Even though I'm using feminist theory, it's a lot about men. This week in my class, in my women's studies class, we watched the film The Mask You Live In. Have you ever heard of that one?
Yeah. I've taught that one as well.
Yeah. So we watched that today. They really enjoyed it because I like to take the approach that feminism really is for everybody. And I try to not leave men and boys out of the conversation or the classroom, right? Because I have guys in my classroom and I don't want them to feel like we're just man-hating lesbians in there.
No. Even if you didn't want to consider the lived experiences of men or masculinity for whatever reason, you still have to understand that if we're going to say hurt people in one breath and then not talk about how they've been hurt and how that leads them to contribute to systems of violence, perpetuation of systems of violence, just sit down. You're not interested in doing work.
Right. You're exactly right.
And I think you're going to love that book.
I just ordered it, so.
I love it in real time.
Yeah. I know it's an evil corporation, but I will always love Amazon. I worked for them for several years, and you just can't beat how fast they get shit to you. They have everything.
Well, you get stuff next day.
Yeah.
Me, it's like that scene from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? It's like, this place is just a geographical oddity. It's 2 weeks from everywhere. No matter what I order, it takes 2 weeks to get here.
Wow.
Logistics just didn't make it to the prairie.
I can order things like at 8 o'clock at night, and it will have the option to have it delivered between 10 and 3 the next day.
I remember living that life when I lived there.
Was that a trombone?
Yeah. And outside my window.
It's a drive-by flirting.
I think it's still out there.
One wandering trombonist. Have you ever seen the trombonists that follow around protesters?
I don't think I have seen the trombone version. I saw over the weekend, I think it was this past weekend, Pikeville, Kentucky had their Pride. Theirs is always at the end of September. And, Pikeville's deep Eastern Kentucky, deep cold country.
Yep. I had a girlfriend from there.
Their Pride started before rural Minnesota did. So, they've been doing it for years. Pikeville is actually a big driving force in a lot of the coalitional restorative justice initiatives, harm reduction initiatives, mutual aid, things like that. Like Pikeville's they've had it with the rest of the world. They said, fuck it, we're going to do it ourselves. So they had their Pride over the weekend. But of course, they were protesters because there always are. But if you look on social media, you can look up, I think it's just Pikeville Pride on Facebook and on Instagram. They had a couple of bagpipe players show up that just followed around the protesters, like, it's just joyful, and their outfits are incredible. They're good musicians. I mean, whatever bagpipe is supposed to sound like, that's what it sounded like to me. They're like, no, this is our job for the day. Like, we've given ourselves this job. We are set up to be here all day. We have everything that we need. Do you have everything you need, or did you just not bank on us being here and being as fucking tired of your bullshit as we are? Because every goddamn year, like, what do these people do? Do they count down a calendar somewhere? Like 65 days.
They're at more gay events than I am, is all I'm going to say about that.
Oh, just, my God. Can you hear it still?
Yeah.
It's disembodied. This is the weirdest. It's not a person out there. I hope it's like
okay.
It's just one note.
It's the only one he knows.
Today is his very first day playing trombone. I got this E flat down. I'm gonna start trying to ignore him, I guess, because I don't think he's going to stop anytime soon. Okay, so right in Virginia, there's I think a gubernatorial race happening or something. Is it primary time, something like that?
It's getting close to November, so probably.
Yeah. So there's a race happening now. It sounds kind of like like if Shrek farted, Never, ever. This episode's gonna be a nightmare to edit. Dude.
We'll just give them 5 minutes of us laughing. They'll enjoy it.
Yeah, that's true. Spanberger is her name. The Democratic candidate has a 10-point lead as of yesterday over an opponent that is pretty much only running on transphobia.
I read an article about that today, actually.
In Virginia, like work bitch. Opponent Earl Sears has multi-million-dollar campaign just talking about the trans menace, this, that, or whatever. And the polls are saying like, and who knows if it's going to continue? Things can happen, whatever. But at this point in a race, that's really solid data to have. And so it is at least good news that a person can't win in Virginia anyway, cannot win this particular race by only trying to punish people with minority identities. Well, we can say trans people. If he had a platform of overt racism, maybe that would play better. We don't know.
Maybe more people are starting to, I would agree that more people are starting to not give a shit about it, which would be ideal. I mean, just where if we were just not care, you know what I mean? Not care if what had people had in their pants. That would be ideal. And
that's the cool thing about this polling data is that is the only variable that was rated as unimportant. All of the other issues, it asked like, how important is this or whatever. That's the only one that across the board was rated unimportant.
Well, that's hopeful.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so funny, too, this graph. It says economy, education, healthcare, threats to democracy, housing affordability, transgender issues.
Like it's on the same scale or something.
32% said not at all important. 19% said not too important. And then 23% said somewhat important, when everything else was above 64% very important. Economy, education, healthcare, threats to democracy, and housing affordability are between 64 and 80% very important. And then the rest somewhat important. It's wild. So that's good news, I guess. Isn't it just fucking bleak that I'm like, hey, some people said that they don't really want me murdered. And that is just incredible news today.
I hate it here.
I mean, yeah, I do too. But there's something about me that also wants to be like, fuck this. We can pull this around. This is a broke hoopty of a country right now, but it's mine, damn it. It's my hoopty ass country, and I want it back. I want it to be a place where we can actually start to imagine futures again. We do this exercise sometimes in my grippy sock school where we're like, where would you want to live for a year? And I'm like, I wouldn't want to live nowhere else. I'm tired of running to try to find a place that's going to love me more than the last one did. I don't think that's how this works. But I don't think it's a waiting game. I don't think we just simply wait until they tire themselves out. I think we have to kick some skulls.
I'm down for that.
If they're going to be doing shit like they're doing in Chicago with that ice raid.
Yeah. Kids.
Zip tied together.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. You know, people are asking what to do. I don't know what to do. I know what I want to do, which is empty the holler out. Every toothless person with nothing to lose out of the holler into wherever these fuckers go next and just turn them loose. Because that's how you overcome the empathy gap. You put somebody's face right in the middle of it and say, look at this shit.
The problem is empathy is now feminine, and men reject anything that is feminine. You know what I mean?
A lot of them do, yeah.
Yeah.
But that like manosphere, that's a lot of sound and fury. You know, they really talk big, and it sounds like a bigger problem than it is, but it really does not stand up to much scrutiny anywhere except in their little echo chamber. And they're even forgetting about Charlie Kirk now. Isn't that weird?
Good. Yeah.
He's not even trending anymore.
Well, that didn't take long.
No, and they're going to drop his wife like a hot pocket.
Yep. Did you see the spoof that went around that she was starting a dating app? It was a stupid lie, but it was pretty funny.
No. What kind of dating app?
A conservative Christian.
Ain't there already plenty of them?
Probably. I don't know. I've never been on a dating app in my life. I don't know anything about them.
Christian Mingle. There was one for farmers.
Farmersonly.com.
Yeah. I believe that was a 2000s thing. There was websites, niche websites for everybody.
I take that back. I was on, before I met Shanna, I was on a website called Hershey Kisses. Like Hershey, like as in lesbians, because punny, right?
Yeah.
Some crazy person paid the $50 or whatever to get my number. Because she saw I was in a local commercial for the photography studio, and I used a similar picture, so she knew it was me. And so she was crazy. That girl, she only went out with me, I think, because my name was Becky, and her ex-girlfriend's name was Becky, and she wanted to say she had a new Becky. It was weird. I bounced out of that real quick.
Yeah.
People are weird.
Have you ever done like the chat roulette or Omegle thing?
I've seen them, but no, I've never done it before.
I wonder if those are still around.
Probably.
I've thought the other day like it would be interesting to do that, but I don't think I'll ever have the guts. Although, I don't know. Somebody does it. They can't all be creeps.
They can't all be masturbating.
Oh, and on that note, maybe we should close this puppy out. Well, thanks for sticking around for possibly one of the weirder episodes of Queer Next. Who knows? Who are we kidding? They're all pretty weird.
Yeah. But they're fun, damn it.
Yeah. Do all the things, subscribe or follow or whatever it's called on whatever listening app you have. Follow us on YouTube so you get the notification when we go live for Halloween. Subscribe to the newsletter where you can find out more about that. You can join our coffee if you want to give us $2. That'd be cool. And I'm putting all these links in the episode descriptions too, so you can always check those for ways to get involved. And let us know if you want to add something to the wheel or what have you. Send us a message or an email if you've got a tall tale. And let us know if you ever touched a spider. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Say hi to your mom and them.
Bye.